Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trader Merlin Show. I apologize if my voice goes out or I seem exhausted. I've been nonstop teaching since 7 a.m. this morning doing a crypto program for Trading Academy. So thank you for those of you who are in that program and are joining us today. Unfortunately, I did not have a chance to get everyone's numbers tallied up. As you guys know, I am doing the competition, if you will, for the forecast of not just the S&P or SPX by the end of the year, but also for Bitcoin. So I will bring this chart up here for anyone who wants to get their forecast in. For all of you who did it yesterday, I will have all of that done tonight. It's going to take me a little bit longer than I anticipated, but for those of you who might be new, you are welcome to put your forecast into chat about what you think the forecast or the SPX will be by the end of the year, as well as the spot price of Bitcoin. Whoever gets the closest, I got some prizes for you. Don't know what the prizes are yet, but I will do my best to make it something fun and, kind of cool. So again, for those of you who are new, get those forecasts in, and I will probably ask again over the next few days just to make sure everybody gets their forecast in. So I saw a ton of you guys did it on YouTube channel, which is great. Just need a couple. I just need a day to catch up with all of it, but some good responses out there and some pretty wide variety of guesses. I have some people that think it's absolutely going to crater. I have some that think it's going to actually do really, really well for 2025, and we will have to wait and see both the S&P and for crypto. Now, to start things off, I got a question last night from a viewer who I haven't seen in quite some time, so I'm hoping I haven't seen him live here anyway. All right, that's cool. I got you. I think I got you for the S&P, but I don't think I got you for the gold or Bitcoin. So thank you for that one. Kevin, who I believe is in Florida, not sure, but usually he wasn't here for a long time, but every now and again he jumps back in the room. So thanks, Kev, for the question. He asked this one last night. He says, it looks like Bitcoin's about to fall off of a cliff. What are your thoughts? So I thought, you know what? Why don't we just make that the graphic for today? So here we've got Bitcoin on the edge of a cliff, looking pretty precarious and getting kind of ugly there. Well, it's a tough question. When we look at about to fall off a cliff, that implies a significant decline. Now, I don't believe that is going to happen. I think you have too much buying pressure at this moment to really have a catastrophic slide. Now, there is one wild card. I don't want to use the word black swan again, but an outlier data point would be if something crazy were to happen with Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy, and if they got a margin call and were forced to liquidate some of that very large position that they have of Bitcoin, yeah, you could see some big downside move. But let's look at the price chart first before we make any real big conclusions, assessments, or freak ourselves out about it. Now, obviously, Bitcoin had a pretty rough day today. You can see it down 2.43%. At one point, it was down more than that. Now, on the grand scheme of things, I'll put the chart right to here. Okay, so right at this point here, if we play that hard right edge on this chart looks beautiful. Absolutely fantastic. And I know where we stand right now, but if we were just starting to do some raw analysis on this chart, I would be looking at, I know this outlying tail, I'm kind of skipping it, but I'm going off where it wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. And you guys can tell, for those watching or listening to the podcast, I got my candle over December 5th's action, which is a really wild, extremely volatile day. I'm kind of taking that out of the equation. And the reason is I believe that this is more relevant of real price driving up and down. So I've got 91,000 as kind of that line in the sand, if you will, for the short term. We could look at this low point from December 5th, and that's 88,000, which has been my price target. I have been thinking we're going to get down to 88,000, so I'm not overly worried. Now let's play the hard right edge and just advance candle by candle to see where we stand on this chart. There we go, candle by candle. So still looking bullish, right? We're in an uptrend. Oh, okay, we're drifting down a little bit. Now we pop back up to the upside, and at this point you're like, okay, well if there's going to be momentum up to the upside, then Bitcoin, should have had a bigger rally than this. Unfortunately, it just went up to 100,000 as of that specific day. Go forward a little bit more. Okay, now we're seeing a pretty significant dip down here, and then all of a sudden it rips back up and breaks through 100,000. At face value, this is actually a positive sign. We've come back, we've retested that $92,000 mark on spot Bitcoin price, and then you had that big move up to 102.50 or 103 on, let's see, that's on January 6th. So just a couple of days ago. And then you get this abrupt about face, a full-on engulfing pattern, followed by a second day of big downside move. And that leaves us where we are today. So to Kevin, I don't think we need to be freaked out yet that there's a big decline. As I look at this chart here, I feel like there's two potential levels that we need to be concerned with. First is going to be that 91 to 92,000 mark, and I think that's kind of a logical bouncing point, right? It's going to just kind of keep bouncing along there, bouncing along, no big deal. If we get below 88,000, then I think there's more of a discussion to be had about a bigger fall. Now, when you say falling off a cliff, that implies to me, like 30, 40, 50,000 point swings in Bitcoin. Well, look, if we break 80,000, it's probably going to accelerate down to the most logical stopping point, which is this area of consolidation that goes to November 7th, 8th, and 9th before it ripped up again. So in using that as the stair step for analysis, for me anyway, it looks like that next logical stopping point is going to be right around 77,000. Now, I'll be honest, I don't think we're going to get there. Now, markets are going to do whatever it wants to do. It feels to me like we have too many positive factors that would warrant such a significant decline in price. Now, if I measure from the peak that we had on December 17th to that point, that's about a 29% slide in the price of Bitcoin. Not unheard of in the world of cryptocurrency and digital assets. But I really don't think that I just don't see us getting down there. I do think 88's in play. I do think 92's in play. I'd be more concerned if we broke below 88,000. So I really don't think, can Bitcoin be shorted? Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Depending on what markets you are on. It's a great question, Steve. You have now futures markets available on Coinbase. So before, if you wanted to trade futures, you had to go to the CME. Now, the CBOE ones are long gone, but you had the CME futures, which obviously, there's certain influence that's going to have on price. It doesn't actually drive price because, remember, the futures are just anticipatory. They're not backed by any Bitcoin whatsoever. If you look at the spot ETFs, like IBIT and all the different ones, you could potentially go out there and sell short IBIT. Now, there's options too, so I could be buying puts directionally. I could be selling calls if I felt it was going to be going down. So there certainly is some pressure that could be put on it from that perspective. Now, it's funny, I was going to go in here and search for something, and I can't remember what I was going to search for. The beauty of having way too many things on my head. No to the crypto cliff, Matt. Yeah, Mark, of course, you don't want a crypto cliff, and I'm not overly concerned. If it does have a correction, and I do feel like there's certainly the potential for it, but as we look at this chart, it's really just kind of gone sideways for the better part of a month and a half to 2 months. And yes, it is showing weakness right now, so I understand where Kevin's coming from. I do see the weakness. That's okay. Markets do have weakness like this. When we look at something like Nvidia, which obviously is no comparison to Bitcoin, I'd argue that right here was a very similar chart to Bitcoin. It was rallying up, made an all-time high, and then started, all of a sudden made a new low, caused a little bit of a bear trap, and boom, has been screaming up ever since. Well, not ever since, because yesterday was a pretty big down day. But I do think that you're okay. And again, it's just my opinion. Obviously, I'm not selling, so I'm not too concerned about that. I do think we've got some lower levels to worry about, but I don't know if I would go out on I like this one. I don't know if I would go out on a limb and call this, the crypto cliff. It has been a extremely aggressive ascent for most cryptocurrencies. But I'll be honest, a lot of them have already given back, a good portion of those gains. Look here at Litecoin. Litecoin, if you look off of its peak on that same day on December 5th, Litecoin is already down, 31%. So Bitcoin's kind of holding, and Bitcoin will probably continue to hold its gains there as the number one and gain more of its market dominance. Solana down 25%. So a lot of these cryptos have already had a significant retracement here over the past month or so. I think that's just a logical retracement. In the grand scheme of things, if I were to put a moving average underneath this Solana chart, it's not going to take a lot to tell me that in the longer term moving average is like the 100, we're probably still above the 100, but the shorter term like the 20, we're going to be below it. So let's see. That's volume. Here's simple moving average. That's got to be like a 9 period moving average. Let's see, inputs. That's a 20. Okay. So let's go out to 100 and see where we're at, kind of longer term. So we're right kind of bouncing off it, and as we speak, most people like to look at that 200. Here's your 200 period moving average. Long way to go, but still overall the big picture is trending up. So yeah, again, I'm not really freaked out about this at all. I really think it's going to be okay. I think we'll be fine. If there's more downside movement, I'd be okay with that. As Margaret said here, I think it's a good opportunity to be buying more. So if you are liquid and you have the capital to disposable income to be buying more, then I would say go for it. But a pullback would not be the worst thing that could happen here. It's just an opportunity for more people to buy, add to their positions or buy into it. From the lows we saw back here in September to the peak, Bitcoin rallied roughly, my number's a little bit off here because I'm speed doing this, 100%. Well, I think it's logical to expect there to be some retracement in price, some pullback in that giant move to the upside. And if I put fibs on here and go from where this run started to where this run ended, which is right there, a 50% retracement would bring us back down to 80,000. But look where the 38% retracement is. That 38% retracement, which we just drew on there manually, is right here at 80, just below 88,000. It's at 87,181 is that most logical point. So yeah, I wouldn't freak out about it. It's just a natural pullback in it, but I don't think we're on a crypto cliff. I think there's just too much behind it to allow this to implode and crash all the way down. There's just too much big money. It would hurt companies like BlackRock. It would devastate and destroy MicroStrategy, and we've seen MicroStrategy have a really volatile swing over the past couple days. Merlin, am I buying the dip? Not this dip, but if we fell down into the 70s, I would buy it. Yep, absolutely. Freak Out was a popular song. Yeah, it was. Love that one. It was, oh, Freak Out. I probably can't sing it or I'll get in trouble for copyright protection or infringement. So all in all, yeah, I'm fine. I'm not worried. Again, I think that the big catalyst is going to happen here in a couple months. If I can't get over it, but if we do get that strategic Bitcoin reserve, folks, you'll be looking at 90,000 going, man, I wish I would have bought more. But yes, I will probably buy a little bit more Bitcoin. I buy Bitcoin all the time, like in small chunks, just for the classes that I'm teaching to show executions. I'd actually like to buy some other things. We did an analysis in my class I taught out in North Carolina on a project called Stacks, which is a layer 2 solution for Bitcoin, which is very interesting. It allows for smart contracts to be written on top of Bitcoin, which has never had that functionality before. I also like projects like SWE. So SWE is a layer 1 solution that does over 100,000 transactions per second, extremely scalable. I'm also interested in some oracles for different networks like Pyth on Solana. So I don't know if I would be buying a bunch more Bitcoin because I'm pretty heavy in Bitcoin now. The only reason I would buy more Bitcoin is I want to get to a certain quantity. I want to achieve that threshold, and I think that will make me feel great. But I do believe that I need to spread my asset allocation around. And if you look at the crypto space, I'll sort here by biggest losers. You had some pretty big losers out there today. Render was down significantly, 8%. I'm not so worried about Cake, but LivePeer is another one that's been really getting hammered hard lately. And I like LivePeer. I like what they're doing. It just doesn't feel like they're getting enough adoption right now. You have Arweave, Engine, these are different ones. Cardano also, under $1. I'm okay owning some Cardano here, even though I wish I would have had my, 30,000 or I think it was 28 or 30,000 Cardano back from Celsius and Voyager. Unfortunately, those have all disappeared. Thank you to the bankruptcy there. So Kevin, not so worried. I'm okay with the current price action for crypto. It certainly is. Disappointing might not be the right word, but it's disappointing, I'll say, that Bitcoin's most recent rally gave back those gains in 2 days. We were looking pretty good. We started to break out of this kind of downward move, and then all of a sudden came right back into it. So that has me a little disappointed, but not the end of the world. Obviously, I would like to have it go up. What's my thoughts on PAX-G? So let's look at PAX-G. I think I have it on my portfolio here. So for those of you who don't know what PAX-G is supposed to represent a digital quantity, 1 ounce of gold. All right? Oh my God. Peter, where do you scammers come from? I don't get you scammers. I mean, these donkeys, this guy, I'll block him, don't worry. He's going to get blocked here in a second. But well, what are you trying to accomplish, you clown? I get comments from you guys all the time. There's no way you be posting your seed phrase and you do it all over. I just don't understand how scammers are trying to get things from people. You guys notice in the chat on YouTube sometimes people ask all kinds of just really stupid questions, and they're designed to get you to follow them and subscribe to somebody on social media. This guy Peter Jermick, puts his seed phrase in there. Come on, man. There's no way you would put your seed phrase out there. Peter, thanks for participating. I love that you joined live chat, but we are now going to add you to the block channel. How do I do that? Put user on timeout. No, hide user on this channel. Bye-bye, Peter. It has been a pleasure being spammed by you. Bye-bye now. Okay, you're gone. Okay. See ya, Peter. The recent rally drop, quick. Yeah, he's blocked. Yeah, guys, it happens all the time. I don't get it. I don't understand. What are they trying to scam? What are they trying to get you out of? I don't know. Lisa says, with BlackRock so heavily invested in Bitcoin, do you think that they would let Bitcoin crash? I don't. I think that they would backstop it. Now, granted, BlackRock isn't exposed per se with their Bitcoin holdings, right? BlackRock has apparently a collateralized ETF. So if you buy $1,000, let's say 50,000, please don't blog me, no. Steve, you're always welcome here. As long as you guys don't get like angry political and start attacking other people, it's awesome. Please talk, chat. I love when you guys chat. I just don't want heavy, aggressive, angry, hostile political stuff, regardless of the candidate or party. It's crazy how politics can make enemies like that. So I try not to go there. I try to straddle that fence. And it's difficult because if I say one thing about Trump, I get some people that hate me and some people that love me. And I'm like, I'm neither a supporter nor a hater. So I'm middle of the rub. Let me get back to your BlackRock piece. Remember, they have an ETF that is, in theory, backed by money. So when you buy, let's say Bitcoin right now is trading at, let's say $95,000. If you buy $95,000, they have to buy a Bitcoin. So here's Bitcoin's price chart. And I'll get to PAXG in just a second, guys. And let's go look at IBIT. So here's IBIT. This is supposed to be fully backed by dollars. So every Bitcoin that gets purchased, they need to have, if someone buys $95,000 worth of this ETF, they have to buy a full Bitcoin. Now, I don't know all the computations because if I find it surprising that this is so off, right? You guys notice that right now the price for IBIT, which is the BlackRock ETF, spot ETF trust for Bitcoin, is $53.43. How does that have anything to do with the price of Bitcoin? It's all, I hate it. I wish it would be 1/10 or 1/1000th of a price of Bitcoin, right? Make it 1/1000th of a Bitcoin and make it $94 a share right now and lock it that way. So unfortunately, IBIT is backed by Bitcoin. The question is, are they going to get hurt? I don't believe so. They shouldn't be getting hurt because it's not them that's actually buying and owning the Bitcoin. They're not taking a loss on it. It's the people that bought the ETF, in theory. So whether it goes up or down, it shouldn't impact BlackRock. That's assuming that they're truthful and their disclosure has been transparent and they don't really have much exposure to Bitcoin. I would be inclined to think that BlackRock actually has its own holdings of Bitcoin, given the fact that they own the most popular Bitcoin ETF. Therefore, as more people demand that ETF, they're going to profit more from their Bitcoin holdings. So not 100% sure on the exact mechanism as to how BlackRock might be impacted here, but I don't believe it will be a significant impact. Obviously, MicroStrategy is the one that's going to get hit the most if this thing starts to crash. And it could be pretty devastating for MicroStrategy. Look at what happened to them today. I have had the 370s and I sold the 370 calls, so I'm still chipping away and lowering my dollar cost average. And if you want, I can show you that spreadsheet total on my MicroStrategy premium that I've collected and just kept on doing it over and over and over again. We'll see. I mean, we're over 370 on Monday, and here we are now on Wednesday, and we're at 331. So if Bitcoin does fall, MicroStrategy could find itself at that 200 range pretty quickly. I mean, it could be very quick. And if they do get forced out and they end up collapsing, Whew, I don't think that will happen, but, anything can happen in this day and age. You just never know. Like I say, the markets do what most people least expect it to do. All right, let's go. What's your number 2 crypto? Daniel Moreno. Daniel, that's a tough question. I don't know. Number 1 for me will be Bitcoin, and I don't think that's ever going to change. I think I will always be, I almost find myself becoming a Bitcoin maxi, but I realize that there's a lot of other projects that are worthwhile in the crypto space. I still believe that Ethereum is the top dog, and the main reason is network effect. Ethereum has so many users. There are some issues with the network, which they're working on. ETH certainly has been crushed over the past few days. It's down over 10% in just the last 2 trading sessions. But, Ethereum has, let me get rid of all these lines. Like I said, I'd get rid of them all. Ethereum certainly has the network effect, meaning more users. And they now have all these layer 2 solutions, which are improving scalability. That's been their big problem, is Ethereum can't handle all the volume on its network. So now you have layer 2 networks like Optimism, Arbitrum, Polygon, Matic. There's several others that exist on the Ethereum network to help alleviate the pressure on the blockchain itself, and that's improved things significantly. Ethereum is also attempting to do scaling on their own with 2 upgrades happening over the next couple of years, and if that happens, Ethereum could theoretically get to 150,000 transactions per second, which in my opinion would blow. There's no need for anything else. There's no need for Cardano or Solana or any of these other ones. Ethereum would be able to do the trick for everything. But they got to get there, and they're moving way too slow in my opinion. Therefore, number 2 is kind of oscillating right around Ethereum and Solana. Solana can handle mass scalability, which is kind of what I think the markets are looking for. They're looking for a crypto that has mass scalability. Right now, Ethereum does about 15 transactions per second. That's unacceptable for mass transaction. Well, Solana is doing 65,000 transactions per second maximum. So, I wish crypto would report the earnings. I think what you mean to say. Well, there's not really much earnings. There's no centralized entity. That's why they're allowed to do what they do. But I mean, you look at from the lows in 2023 to the peak here on Solana just back in November. You're 1,264% gain. Pretty dang happy about that one, since my last purchase of Solana was at $13.33, I believe, or $13.93, something like that. Yes, MicroStrategy did buy another 11,000 Bitcoin, and they were going to continue to buy. Michael Saylor has made it very clear, I will continue to buy. As long as he has capital to buy Bitcoin, then we always have that as a driving force pushing Bitcoin up. So you've got Michael Saylor's positive action, constantly buying, and whatever money he gets, they're buying. But then you have the regulatory changes coming. So I actually feel like we might get a big sell-off. And why? As a bear trap, I'll buy more. It feels like Bitcoin is going to try to scare everyone. Not Bitcoin, but the market's going to try to get Bitcoin to have a quick sell-off and people freak out so that the institutions can now acquire what they need to acquire at lower prices. Hold. I'm going to hold. I'll be buying more. There you go. You have to be able to measure their worth somehow. Yeah, that is the question and the challenge with most cryptos is, where's the value, right? What does it represent? The value of Bitcoin isn't in earnings. The value in Bitcoin is the stability and safety of an asset that's outside of the reach of traditional monetary networks. So I saw a comment earlier that says, if we get, if the economy markets start to collapse in 2025, it'll hurt Bitcoin. I don't think so. I think it actually may push money into Bitcoin because it's outside of your traditional financial channels, which is part of its allure, and certainly one for me. Mike said, San Antonio, no power, internet in my house. Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad you're okay. Mike. I tell you what. I've been living in Southern California since 1998, barring a 5-year stint over in Europe. I've never seen winds here like they were last night. Never. It was crazy strong here. My barbecue and my smoker outside, you're side by side, got launched. I actually went through into the neighbor's fence, which is interesting. Broke through one fence on my side and then landed into the neighbor's fence. Kind of crazy. It's crazy winds and, whatever. That's small damage. Who cares? Really, the thoughts and prayers go out to those in San Diego who are getting, in those crazy fires. Good luck trying to put out a fire with 100-mile-an-hour winds. I think that's an impossible math equation. So glad you're okay, Mike, and I hope the rest of you are as well. The good news is the winds are supposed to die down today and slow down a little bit more over the next couple of days. But yeah, like I say, been here 20 plus years. I've never seen winds that intense. There was a warning when we had the Hurricane Hillary, which was an absolute joke. Everyone around here is laughing at it, how silly it was. It was just rain and slight wind. This was something that I was like kind of concerned about last night. My whole house was shaking from the wind. When the gust hit, I've got nice, really high quality double pane windows, and the wind was hitting so hard you could see the glass flex, and then my curtains would billow. I got double pane sealed windows. Where's that air coming from? Force. Pretty crazy. I'm close to heat and fire, and it's all smoke in the air. Oh, buy the rip drip. Get out of there, bud. Get out of there. Go somewhere else and relax a little bit. That's got to be stressful. I hope everything comes out okay for you. If we had a big power outage in the U.S. or nationwide, would we see a big sell-off in Bitcoin? No, they couldn't sell it, right? Andres, if there was a big power outage, you couldn't sell it anyway. And then as soon as the power came back on, everything would be fine. So no, actually, I think a power outage would have little to no impact. The only thing that could potentially disrupt it would be the number of miners that go offline. So what that could do is it could significantly decrease the hashing power, meaning the computational power of the network. And if that does happen, then one of the consequences would be that the block time for Bitcoin would go from 10 minutes to 15 to maybe 20 minutes, depending on how many miners were taken offline. But that would be fixed rather quickly when the power comes back on. And the difficulty, if it's there for a long period of time, the adjustment on the Bitcoin network changes automatically every 2 weeks. So it's a dynamic market. Yeah, exactly, Thomas. 90 miles, a category 3. I was joking with my class this morning. Like, now I know what you guys having hurricanes and tornadoes feel like. Like, it was pretty scary listening how intense that wind was. My poor dog, he went outside. I think he probably pooped in the house last night because I just got to find it because he's like, I ain't going out there. No way. Let's see. You guys got great questions and comments. Trump's strategic reserve thing is hanging out there. Careful shorting Bitcoin. Yeah, I wouldn't short Bitcoin. And again, I if it does crash. So let's go back to Kevin's original question here, which is, are we on it looks like it's about to fall off a cliff. I hope it is. It sounds horrible. I'm not selling. So I would love to see a very quick, sharp, knee-jerk reaction down, which causes people, the paper hands, if you will, to freak out and sell their Bitcoin. Given all the political talk track from Trump and his administration, there's going to be a big wave of buying of Bitcoin coming in. And if we do get those words legalized, if you get the words that say a strategic Bitcoin reserve for the United States has been approved by the House and Senate, Mamma Mia, watch out. You're going to see some big upside moves in crypto, and I'm okay with that. Let it rain. Come on. Bring it on, guys. The bill is already there. If you look, you can pull up and download the bill from Cynthia Loomis. You can review it, read it, check it out all you want. That is going to be one of the first things that they talk about when Senate takes office after, or when everybody takes office after the administration is inaugurated. So come on, let there be a sell-off. Let there be a little knee-jerk reaction, have those paper hand people freak out, sell their Bitcoin, have a big loss, and it'll allow us to gobble up even lower. And I think that's part of the strategy. Let's see what else I have here. I heard that MicroStrategy has now a large stake in Mara mining. Oh, I didn't know that, Joe. That could be. It could be. And it makes sense because if you are MicroStrategy, you need to find a constant source of Bitcoin. And if Mara, one of the miners out there, is constantly mining Bitcoin, instead of them selling that in the open market, it'll just go right into the coffers of MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy will just be a miner that constantly just keeps saving those Bitcoin. But there's not a lot. If you look at how many they have. Was Fartcoin a top signal, Blue Diesel? Yeah. That's just a sign of stupidity. That's a sign of stupidity, guys. So somebody created this thing called Fartcoin. I mean, I'm sorry. I didn't make it up. That's just the name of it. And it's just so stupid. Look over this window of time, and I don't mess with meme coins. From its inception, October of 2024, to its peak, Fartcoin rallied 10,883%. Unbelievable. But it's going to go to zero. I promise you, this will go to zero. There's just nothing. It doesn't do anything, has no purpose, no value. This is just a pump and dump meme thing. So run away. Lisa says, BlackRock says, warns there's a no guarantee Bitcoin's 21 million spike up can't be changed in the future. Let's talk about that real quick. So you guys tell me, can they change the maximum number of Bitcoin that will ever be in circulation? Could they make something, could they change the code and modify it so that there could be more than 21 million? Just type in yes or no in the chat. Now, while I wait for you to type that in the chat, I'll explain the process on how things get done with Bitcoin. If the network were to vote and the miners vote to change the code to issue, let's say, another 21 million or 5 million or something, the answer is yes, they can. So BlackRock is not incorrect here. What you'd have to have is you'd have to have over 51% of the voting rights. So it is changeable, but every miner would have to agree that the mining reward would change to, maybe the halving time is now changed to, instead of every 210,000 blocks, it changes to 420,000. We double the time. They could theoretically modify the source code, and everyone would have to agree to it. Here's the catch. They wouldn't do it. And I'll give you an example. Back in 2017, there was a guy that came up who said, his name was, oh man, I can't remember his name. He's now in custody in Spain for France. He's in Spain. His name is Roger Ver. So Roger Ver, being part of a venture capitalist group, what they wanted to do is create a larger block for Bitcoin so we can handle more transactions on Bitcoin. Right now, the block for Bitcoin is 1 megabyte. 1 megabyte. What they wanted to do was create a block that's 8 megabytes. So it would handle 8 times as much data per block. And that's called Bitcoin Cash. So what happens is Bitcoin stayed the same. Nothing changed with Bitcoin because the community was like, screw you, we're not going to do that. And they forked it. So, to your point, could they make another one where they change the rules on that blockchain? They fork Bitcoin. The answer is yes. They could do that. However, the diehards, the loyalists in the community, which there are many of them, they won't vote. They won't approve it. They won't approve changing to 21 million. It'll stay that way. So what will happen if they want to is they could fork the Bitcoin blockchain, and therefore there would be 2. So let's say BlackRock decides to fork it. So they'll call it BTCB, right? Bitcoin BlackRock. If you owned Bitcoin, when that fork happens, you keep all your original Bitcoin, plus you'd get the equal amount on that new chain. So this is what happened in 2017, and I sold all of my Bitcoin Cash for a significant gain, and that may be an opportunity down the road. But the actual Bitcoin itself, just knowing what the community is like, they'll never change that. Absolutely not. That's the cornerstone of it. And I saw a comment in here, at least says, oh, I was not aware of that. I thought Satoshi made it so that number of coins could not be changed. No, it's code. So if the change, doesn't that make our Bitcoin worth far less? If they were to change Bitcoin itself and say, oh, there's another 10 million, yeah, of course it would make it worth less. It's not going to happen. They won't change. Bitcoin will not get changed. The community would never approve that. What BlackRock could do is fork it and split it into a separate chain and say, okay, now we're going to make more of these. And that they could theoretically do. It's definitely possible, but highly, highly unlikely. I would say near impossible to get the Bitcoin community to say, raise the number of Bitcoin. That's what gives it its value. Right? Everyone knows as soon as you make more you don't need more Bitcoin, right? It's a fallacy. It's not like shares. Oh, we're running out of shares. No. Remember that the smallest increment of Bitcoin is a Satoshi, which is 0. It's 0.0000001. If all of a sudden Bitcoin got to $30 million or $13 million or $100 million per Bitcoin, then you just shift over the decimal places and you make it 0.000000000000001. and you make it smaller, more divisible. So you don't increase the number of Bitcoin, you just make it more divisible into smaller pieces. Chad says, so if BlackRock could control 51% through mass management, and they might be able to fork it, but ultimately it would just be a fork. Yes. If you could get over 51%, and I'm pretty sure that the community would be against that, right? Miners would lose money on this. Because the value of Bitcoin is so high, remember, miners get paid a reward every block that they solve for Bitcoin. And right now it's 3.125 Bitcoin. So if you're a miner, would you ever vote on an initiative that says, let's create 10 million more Bitcoin? And here's what impact that would have. If you're a miner and all of a sudden, let's say they decide to make 10 million more Bitcoin, then your mining reward is still going to be 3.125 Bitcoin. However, the price of Bitcoin would fall significantly, so you'd make a lot less money. They would vote no against this. They would vote no against that, for sure. There's no doubt in my mind. Now, could BlackRock go in there and coerce Marathon, Riot, Hut 8? It is possible. Exactly. Carlos says, if Carlos can, it says, no way it wouldn't be Bitcoin anymore. I agree. But let me just go look here and see Bitcoin miner breakdown or miner segmentation. Let's see what it looks like on how it's split up. This is North American. This is 8 months ago. I'm looking for something that's current. No, I'm not going to be able to find that right now. But there, you can go and find Bitcoin miners distribution, and it'll give you an idea. Here we go. This is it. Hash rate distribution. So if you look here, you have 200, almost 50% of this is unknown, and a lot of that is going to be smaller people. But you can see here you've got Antpool via BTC. There are definitely some big slices here. And, you know, Mara is only 21. That's not 21%. I'm not sure what that means. But this unknown portion, I'd like to know more about it. You know, that's the scary part. If for some reason BlackRock controls this piece, which I doubt they do, this would be noteworthy news. Everyone would know about it if they did. Then they could theoretically fork Bitcoin or make network changes that would do something like that. But it's not going to happen. It's just, there's no way. The community understands this, and they'll keep fragmenting it so that no one can get that kind of control. I think it would actually do a disservice to BlackRock. If BlackRock forked Bitcoin or tried to manipulate the code and make more than 21 million, they'd lose a lot of money because they own Bitcoin. You just decrease the value of it, so not going to happen. Do we trust any of the financial firms? No. I was speaking facetiously. Yeah, I don't trust any of them. Absolutely. You're right. When you mentioned community, who are you referring to? The owners of it? So, Andres, I'm talking about the miners. They're the miners and the nodes, all the community people that make up the community of Bitcoin. You know, there's there you can go and vote on initiatives as part of the community. Typically, miners have the big say. So as long as the miners, correct, Andres is correct. BlackRock is not into owning a big share of Bitcoin, even though they do. They're interested in the trading fees. Right. It's just market dominance. They need more people to be, you know, using their services. So right now they've got the dominant market share there. It would be a stupid thing for them to even think about adding more Bitcoin. There's no need to add more Bitcoin. Remember, it's divisible. So you don't need to own a whole Bitcoin. It's a fallacy. You can own 0.000001 Bitcoin and be okay. It's just decimalization. So no, there is no need. Joe, sorry to bring it up again. Thoughts on PAX? Thank you. I got sidetracked there. So Joe brings up an interesting one, which is PAX G. Let's get away from Fartcoin here. I don't know how I got stuck on Fartcoin. Thanks for that curveball. PAX G. So PAX G is a token on the Ethereum blockchain that is supposed to be backed by 1 ounce of gold. So for every 1 PAX G you buy, you should, in theory, be buying 1 ounce of gold. And PAX G right now is trading at 2,666. And the price of gold futures right now is 2,672. So it's pretty close. What are my thoughts on it? Well, if you're going to be a long-term holder, you know, trading the future side of things is problematic because you constantly have to keep rolling over the futures contract. If you go into something like GLD, it's a little bit better because you can hold GLD as long as you want to hold GLD. However, there are fees associated with GLD that will eat away at that valuation. And let me see what those fees are. Right now, your expense ratio is 0.4%. So, less than 0.5%, but still, over time, that will slowly chip away at the rate of return. Not much, but slowly. Does PAX-G have that sort of fee? No, it doesn't. You have your purchase value, and you can hold that token for as long as you want. And Steve says, why not just buy gold? It's a good question. If you buy physical gold, then what you're buying is obviously the commodity itself. You typically have issues with regards to pricing. So if you buy gold in the spot market and you go to a coin dealer, a numismatist, or rare coin wholesalers or something like that, there's a big spread for physical commodities. It's not really tight like the futures markets show you. It's a wide spread. So what that means is, I'll make it up here real quick just so I can have it, but let's say you look at gold right now and it's 2,666. If you go to the store and try to buy it 2,666, you're not going to get it. They're going to add to the spread. So it'll be like 2,700. They'll add $40 on one side. And then you go to sell it and you're like, oh, I want to sell it at 2,666. Like, no. They're going to take a spread the other way. So let's say it's a $100 or $200 or $300 spread. Every time you buy and sell, that goes away. That's one concern. The second concern with physical gold is storage. Where do you keep this? You keep gold coins in your house, people will rob you. You got to trust also that they are actual real gold coins. Buy them from the treasury or have them where they've been rated by different agencies. When I was interviewing Paul Busby from Rare Coin Wholesalers years ago, he was telling me stories that just made me not want to buy gold. And he's a gold seller. And he goes, look, we've had stories where people buy a gold bar. And mind you, a gold bar is like 400 ounces. 400 ounces times, 3,000, 1.2 million for a bar. That's expensive. That's expensive. So what they did is they had taken a lead bar that was slightly smaller than an actual gold bar, because I guess gold and lead have the same kind of weight density properties. And then they just kept dipping it in gold and dipping it in gold till it had like a quarter-inch crust of gold all the way around it. So even if they scrape the surface, realize, oh yeah, it's gold. It was gold-plated, if you will, but inside the core of it was a lead bar. And that type of stuff, I don't know. I just don't trust. I don't think I'd ever buy a gold bar. By the way, I don't know if anyone here has ever tried to carry or pick up a gold bar. Ooh, man, that's tough. Now, I do own gold coins. Most of the gold coins I have are rated, so I buy them in the little cases, and they're rated, or I'll buy American Eagles directly from the Treasury, and I have a few of those. But that's okay. Again, you're still going to pay that spread. I think if you want to capitalize on the moves of gold, then GLD is probably fine. I don't know if I really trust PAX-G, right? So PAX-G, again, is supposed to have in inventory an audited warehouse of gold. So if you buy this, they have it audited and they hold the gold that they say they own. I don't know. I don't trust it. I really have a hard time believing that these companies have all the gold that they say they have. So, all right, let me steer away from crypto for a second because I want to make sure we get to inflation fears. And part of the reason I think we're seeing kind of stress in our markets right now is inflation fears. And we talked about that. We saw the long end of that yield curve surge, and it's surging yet again. That 10-year and the 20-year really showing some big upside moves. Now today it hesitated a little bit, but you can see almost a little bit of a shooting star here for that 10-year yield, right? That is not a great sign to see it continue to move up from a market pressure perspective. The dollar as well had a nice little update today. And if you look at some other markets, I think I had 10-year futures on here. I had 30-year futures. You're also seeing the yield on that 30-year bond surge. I mean, we've almost hit 5% today. We got to 4.968 on that 30-year bond. This is definitely pressure on our equity market. So make no bones about it. This is something we'll have to wait and see what the next 6 months hold, but could really put more pressure to the downside on our equity markets. The higher this gets, the more downside pressure it puts on equity. So this is definitely something very interesting. And by the way, next week, we do have 2 measures of inflation happening. Let me get you the exact days here so we can lock that down. I will be doing a show on those days so we can talk about it. I won't be doing one on the 13th, but the 14th we have our PPI numbers coming out. They're backwards this month. So usually it's CPI first, then PPI. On Tuesday, the 14th, we've got our PPI numbers come out. And keep in mind, we have seen the most recent number considerably higher than normal at 0.4. Now, of course, the core GDP price or core PCE price index numbers came out better, but that's okay. Here's our CPI number, which comes out on Wednesday at 8:30 in the morning, and it also has ticked up recently after 4 months of sideways at 0.2. So interesting to see what's going to happen here from the inflation front, but ultimately, I got to look at the rate cuts for the year. Our current meeting, which is going to happen on the 29th, it's right around the corner. January 29th, we get another rate announcement, and the expectations are 93% right now. We're going to stay right where we are at. Now, at the end of last year, the forecast was to have a few rate cuts this year. That's changed. Let's go back to this one, and right now we are at 450. The expectations are right now, the median, that we're probably going to get 1 rate cut, maybe 2 by the end of this year. So that to me represents a change in tactic, if you will. We've seen this kind of positive move towards lowering rates. President Trump wants lower rates. So is the Treasury. The Treasury is going to do their best to crush rates, which will push the value of the dollar down. However, the lower that gets, the more inflationary pressure it puts on our market. So we got to be really careful here. The American citizen in me, the person who says, hey, I've got my brethren, my fellow brothers and sisters are all in the same boat here. Let's not rock this boat, right? We should keep rates right where they're at for the next few months and not make any changes to it. I think there's going to be pressure once Trump takes office to keep pushing rates down. We'll see if that gets there. Number 2 is if we do start to see those rates continue down, then we're going to get more volatility. And that's where trader Merlin, myself, comes in and says, fine, let's cause chaos in the market. Let's cause freak out about inflation and big market volatility, because to me, that's where the opportunity has been for me. So we shall see. Yeah, Andreas, the battle between Powell and Trump. And there were comments from the Federal Reserve about how they're kind of nervous about Trump and his tariff talks and his push about interest rates. So, the shock and awe program hasn't even started yet. He's not even in office, and shock and awe is already starting to take center stage. So I'm excited for it. I think 2025 is going to be a great year. I meant to go over my trades today, but I'll do that tomorrow. I got to get that spreadsheet up here, and we'll talk about my 2024 results, which I was happy with. They weren't blowout numbers, but anytime you beat the market overall, with all your accounts, right? One account's easy to beat the market, but to get them all, and each account for mine has different objectives. I was pretty content with this year. How do they lower rates? Isn't that the Fed? Yes, it is, Steve. But what I'm saying is that the Trump will pressure the Fed. He already has. He's talked a lot of tough talk to the Fed, and he'll be one of those things. And you know how Trump is. He'll be like, great. Here's your daily Trump impersonation. Jerome, I really need you to get those rates lower. I really want to make sure America has the lowest rates possible. We want to make sure that we have the cheapest currency to really help our economy out. So if you don't do it, we're going to get fired. You hear me? You're fired. That's his going to go after Powell and the Fed. Hopefully, the Fed does the right thing and stands its ground and doesn't get pressured or bullied into a decision which would impact you and I in a negative way. Actually, as an American, it would be in a negative way. As a trader, who cares, right? Bring inflation back, cause market chaos. I'd rather it doesn't happen so we kind of get consistent growth and just go up over time. It makes for better trades, in my opinion, but let's see. But that's how they would lower it. They would pressure the Fed to do so. All right, I didn't plan on doing it. I've got a meeting at 3 o'clock, so I got to wrap up here. Let's talk about your economic calendar for tomorrow and earnings. Oh, yes. Did we talk about earnings today? No, we did not. Let's bring up that because there's really nothing on the earnings front today. But tomorrow, there's 9 companies reporting earnings, just 9, a measly little 9 companies. But there might be 1 or 2 on this list that you want to think about. Really, it starts on Friday, but let's go to tomorrow. You've got one really big one. That's Infosys, and that's it. Markets will be closed tomorrow. So for those of you who are all excited about trades tomorrow, don't worry about it. It is closed. Of course, if you trade crypto's open, 365. 24 hours a day. Crypto markets will not be closed in honor of Jimmy Carter tomorrow, but most of the markets will be. Now, we went economic calendar. I went forward to next week. Let's bring up what's happening for Thursday. Of course, I should say here that U.S. markets are closed. You got a bunch of people speaking. You got data coming out, but the equity markets will be closed. So nothing great there. And then I will be doing a show. Even though the markets are closed, we will talk about markets tomorrow. Specifics when you do the oil one. The oil one, that one. I need to work on my impersonation. My apologies. I should check the numbers, because I would bet that some people I'm offended that you're impersonating Trump and you're mocking him, and I'm not going to watch you anymore. I'm just having fun with the program. I'm feeling like Saturday Night Live, right? He brings fun upon himself. He does definitely warrant. Yeah, he does like making fun of himself, which you got to respect that. All right, that's going to do it for me. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Again, I will get the spreadsheet all updated tonight. I've just been so dang busy with classes. So if you have a result or a number that you didn't put in yesterday or today, I'm asking for a forecast on what you think the price of Bitcoin will be by December 31st and the S&P, SPX. So let me know what you think that'll be by the end of the year if you didn't do it already, and I will add that to the spreadsheet for tomorrow. You can also put it down below the YouTube video, right? Anywhere in the YouTube video, I will gladly catch that one, update it, and update that spreadsheet. So what did Tommy say? I'm a Trump fan. I like it. Thank you. Thank you, Thomas, and I appreciate that. On your last Monday morning must-knows, I could hear you hold back when you said China. I did. I went China, and I don't know. I think people are just overly sensitive. We've got to laugh at some things, enjoy life and have some fun. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Get your forecasts in, and I will do my best to get the spreadsheets all done tomorrow. We'll go over some the overall results from my trading and share that with you guys. And the lessons I've learned, really, to me, I think that's the most important part. Isn't okay, I made X amount or lost X amount. It's what did I learn? What am I going to change? And I think last year I had some big takeaways. This year it's even more evident. For me. So I will let you know what that is tomorrow. So thank you guys so much. I will see you tomorrow. Comments, questions, feedback, email me, tradermerlin@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Take care.